so let's lower the volume. I don't chase the outrage, I don't rent a side. I've lived long enough to know noise loves to lie. I talk about the days, I talk about the news, I talk about the things you don't get in sound bites or views. I'm not here to win you, I'm not here to scare. I'm just standing still long enough to notice what's there. Sane in Colombia, that's where I land, watching the world with both feet in the sand. Sane in Colombia, no script, no plea, just a man, a moment, and what I see. If it's worth thinking about, we'll think about it. Sane in Colombia. I didn't leave because I was angry, I left because everything got loud. Every voice trying to win the moment, nobody listening to the ground. I wanted space, not distance from reality, distance from the noise, pretending to be reality. I stepped off the treadmill, left the shouting behind. No flashing banners in my head, just space to think and time. They sell you urgency, they sell you fear. Every voice is louder, but nothing's clear. I don't listen to what's promised, I watch what happens. I don't follow tone, I follow patterns. No borrowed fear, no rented rage, just facts moving across the page. What's the bills? Choices form. Watch who bends, watch who storms. Signals matter, noise is cheap. What they say versus what they keep. This is Sane in Colombia, where the volume comes down. No talking points, no marching sound. I don't chase the noise, I don't rent my mind. I step back far enough to see the design. Coffee on the table, mountains in the frame. Thinking for myself, that's how I stay sane. Living sane in Colombia. 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 Sunlight spills through the cafe door. Mic goes live like it's done before. 9 years deep in these mountain towns, we brew the truth, not just sit around. I came for a visit and stayed for the view, but the soul of this place, it just pulls you through. Mornings in Finlandia, Nights in Salento, life don't move fast, but man, it's full tempo. This ain't a pitch, it's real as it gets. From lost bags to love and bureaucratic regrets. No script here, just the sound of real lives told live every week under Colombian skies. It's coffee time lived from the heart of Quindío, where the screen fades out and the real stories flow from expats who landed and locals who guide. We laugh, we vent, we cry, we ride. It's not about views, it's about the vibe. Just raw conversation, live and alive. Got folks tuning in from every time zone, asking what's it like to make this place your own. It's mango trees, it's rent debates, it's finding peace past the clickbait gates. Some days we talk visas, some days we just breathe and sip dark roast while the valley grieves through mudslides, marches, markets, and mess. We show up with stories, no more, no less. It's coffee time lived, not just a name on a screen. It's 9 years of mornings and everything between. No hype, just heart and a decent brew. A place for the honest, the warm, the true. Not selling dreams, just sharing the ride from right here in Quindío live. And if you've ever felt a little lost or wide awake at dawn, this show was made for you to lean on. We're not tourists here, we belong, we build in mountain towns where the air stands still. So bring your mug, your doubts, your days. We'll light 'em up in soft cafe rays. It's not a podcast, it's a porch-like glow. It's home and a headline, a yes and a no. It's coffee time live, come as you are, from my table in Colombia to wherever you are.
Welcome back to the channel, Grand Colombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live here in Armenia, Colombia, and I'm on time today. Can't beat that. So, I didn't make up the agenda, but it's pretty simple. It's pretty much the same every week. It's been cold. It's been cold. I made this up yesterday because I get absorbed in preparing, and then sometimes I just keep doing things and I forget that, oh, it's Saturday. It's tomorrow. So I made this up, but this was yesterday. And I have to make them the morning. So anyway, here we go. The exchange rate yesterday was 36.75, but mostly look at the temperature. It says we're having highs all week of 68, 67 degrees and low of 54. Now, when did you ever hear me say that? Well, it has been cold lately, and here is today. So here's the Colombian peso, 36.68, practically the same. And we're going to have a high, it says, of 75, and currently it's 73, and a low of 62. It doesn't say there, but I'm telling you, that's what they're saying. So this is a little more realistic, but I do have to tell you, you can tell when you've been somewhere for a while. Now, as you know, I'm from New York State and spent a lot of my life in cold weather. I think the coldest I've ever been around was maybe minus 40. And having big swings in temperature is a norm for me. I've been living down here for what, 10, 11, almost 12 years. And in Ecuador, as in here, despite the elevation, all I've ever really needed is a t shirt. It does get cool at night, but I'm sleeping under blanket. So what does it matter? Well, I think it's finally catching up with me because a few days this week, I was cold. I can't even remember the last time I've been cold, but I was cold. I was walking around the house with a felt blanket wrapped around me. It was crazy. Mr. B. Nick, how are you? Are you online? H. Pratt, am I online? Yeah, I'm online. I mean, you wrote to me. Um, Not quite sure I get that. Of course, I'm online. I'm here. I'm talking. You wrote to me. Last week, I had somebody send a message saying that he tried to go into chat and he couldn't enter the live chat. I don't understand that. I don't get it. I mean, I was getting chats last week, but I did have a low number as compared to what's normal. So if you're having any trouble getting in the chat, shoot me off a message, shoot me off an email. If you don't know how to get a hold of me, hold on here. I got an email. Here we go. There's my email. It's my name at Gmail. So if you shoot me off an email and let me know if that is a real situation or not, because I don't know, then I'll write to the tech support and see if they can track it down. But I don't want to write to them if it's not really an issue. It's been working really good. I mean, for years on YouTube. I mean, how many times you guys have been watching me for years? How many times did we get interrupted or we'd go off to buffer land and maybe I'd have to leave? It was typical. It was common. And since I've been on here, the only thing I run into is that little glitch where I lose control on the interface and I have to quickly exit and come back in. It takes me about 15 seconds to do it. It's not a big deal. I'm not quite sure what the deal is. You know, I have my suspicions, but I've been able to figure it out. And I did find there's a few other people that have complained about it, but it's like maybe 5 out of a million or something like that. I don't know. It's a pretty rare thing. So today, going to talk about some headline things, maybe a little bit about the election coming up. I don't know, but mostly I'm kind of looking forward to this topic. And we're going to talk about what Colombians think of American expats, because I've noticed a shift in this last year. And to prepare for this, I spent about 3 days going through social media posts. So what I did was I had AI do a search for me on various social media platforms and find anywhere good or bad or indifferent, any opinions by Colombians. And then after a couple days of that, I contacted some people, Colombians that I know in various places in Colombia. One in Bucaramanga, 2 in Manizales, 1 in Medellin, 2 in Cali, and several people here that I know, to kind of get a sense of course, that's very anecdotal. I understand that, but what have you heard? What do you know? What do you think? And after they give their opinion, I read some of the social media so they could, what they thought about that. And so that's what, comprised today's topic. Is it 100% for sure? Well, of course not. Nothing is, but I think it's a pretty good sense. I mean, I put enough effort into it. Um, and plus, it's pretty logical as I go through maybe some of the source of what's going on. H. Pratt, good morning. It seems every week Rumble seems it's more difficult to log into your podcast. I, I have a couple people that say that, and then I got dozens of people that don't have any issues. So I don't get it. I've never had any problems logging into Rumble to go into a channel on my TV, on my phone. Not once have I ever had a problem logging in to see something, just like you, as a viewer, to go in and log into something. There's one show that I watch maybe once a month. It's Louder with Crowder because it's kind of a comedy. It's political, but it's kind of funny. And so occasionally I'll watch it, but it's like an hour long. So usually I'll just watch like the beginning. And I've logged in maybe 2 or 3 years now, on and off. Like I say, not much, but maybe once a month. Not one time have I ever had an issue going in to watch it. So I don't know. I'm not saying it's you. I mean, you're having problems. I just don't know why. I really have no idea. I've never experienced it, and most viewers haven't experienced it, or at least they're not saying anything about it. So I don't know. You have a black channel and a white channel. The white channel works better than the black channel. Well, there is an yeah, one is in capital letters. It's an overarching channel. It is my channel. Within that is the Sane in Colombia, my personal channel, Grand Colombia for coffee time, and then there's one other that I don't really use. So they're in the umbrella of that channel. When I do these, I'm doing it on the coffee time channel. It's not in the title channel. And so maybe there's something to that. I don't know. But when I post up the link, I post it up as the channel for coffee time. I don't do it as the main general channel. So if you go to the main general channel, what you do is you then look at the three channels that I have, and then you would select the Grand Columbia channel that is under it for the Coffee Time Live. I only use it for you. I guess it's my inexperience in getting to your podcast. Well, I don't know about that because it's no different coming here than it would be if you were going to go to YouTube, or if you wanted to go see a Twitch streamer, or Kick is a program, like this. If you want to go see a live streamer on Kick, I mean, you click the link, you go there. Um, Sometimes you can go anonymously. Usually, platforms want you to actually sign up to the platform, just like any web page. But it's not like there's a different procedure. I mean, here you click the link and you're here. That's how it works for me. At the top here, you might want to try it. I've got Grand Columbia's rated Newsmax. It's nothing that you guys have to do or be involved in. I have to do 5 raids a month right now. But if you click that, it says join. You're not joining anything. You're joining the channel. You're visiting the channel. If you click that, it's the same as clicking the link. And if you go to that channel and it's there and you're not having any problem with it, that's the way it should be with my channel. Feel free to share my new song, Laurels, only if you want to. Yeah, I see you've been having a flurry of those like every day. Kind of like mine, right? I let AI write all mine because it does a killer job. But I've got this week. You may be interested in it. I'm going to be doing live. I'm not sure when. You'll have to watch for it, but I'm going to be doing a live stream that'll probably go for an hour or two on a whole bunch of things about AI. I think you'll find it if you're trying to use AI, if you're using AI. I think you'll find it pretty interesting. Plus, it'll be live, so there'll be interaction, just like here. You'll be able to do a chat. I've been immersed in it for, well, it's as of this month, it's a year, and I spent a lot of time in it, studying it, looking at various news reports. The man and woman who run Anthropic, they used to be with Chat GPT, and they give a public announcement or a speech every so often, kind of like Elon Musk does, and what's his name with Chat GPT. So I stay on top of all this. I spend probably way too much time on it for my own particular reasons, because I use it a lot for research now. Once I learned how to get actual decent information out of it, I've been going crazy with it because it's like having an unpaid assistant that doesn't want anything out of life except to work hard. Okay, so let's take a look at some headlines here. I think I got a couple video clips first. Yes. Okay, here in Armenia this week, ex-President Uribe came to visit Armenia. And I can talk a little bit about what's going on there. But I'm just going to show you these two clips, or one clip and some photos. I think it's a couple minutes worth. So kick back with your coffee and check it out. Downtown Armenia. Oh, this is the photo one. Quite a turnout. Okay, and this, I think, is the video one.
¿Cómo estoy de viejo y sigo botando corriente? Lo que pasa es que esta tierra colombiana también nos ha sembrado en un huerto de amor a la patria. Y entonces el cansancio y la fatiga, y los dolores y la llegada de los años, todo se disimula cuando recordamos que nuestra fuente nutricia es el amor a la patria, queridos cristianos.
He's here to support 5 candidates that are running. Their presidential elections are foreign to us, and they do it in runoff. So they'll have a first round of election, and then the winners of that actually will run for election. And each party can put up a bunch of candidates. That's sort of similar, but it's different because it all goes into a lump of election. There's 5 that are running in the party that Uribe is out working for, and he's not endorsing any of the 5, but he's in support of all 5. And ultimately, the party endorses the one who gets the votes. And so that's kind of interesting. Then there's and that's kind of a conservative party. Their platform is essentially, let's get business going, get the obstacles out of the way so that they can build the economy, improve the life of people, which is what he did when he was president, which actually worked, and also to crack down on crime and groups in the country, which is what he did when he was president. He was no leeway, all out, beat him into submission. So that's the Conservative Party. Then there's the middle of the road party, I guess. You might say it's slightly conservative. It's certainly not socialist leaning at all. And that's the guy Fico that you may be aware of. And so there's that party. That entire group, the middle of the road party and Uribe's party, are really kind of the same Colombians. And then because it tends to be personality driven here, very, very much so. And then you got the left socialist communist party. So you have those three groups. There's offshoots, but those are the three basic groups that really have any kind of hope for power. And that would be the Petro group. And Petro has been playing, you've probably seen it, where he'll come out in the news and he'll accuse the U.S. of infringing on their sovereignty. He had that thing where he was saying that the United States was going to invade Colombia and all kinds of crazy stuff. Then he goes up and he meets with Trump. I got a couple things on that. And then he comes back, and then just yesterday, he started in again saying the United States is interfering with the elections because this particular person has been bumped off of out of his party, forbidden to run. Except that happened long before he went to see Trump, and it was initiated by his own party because the guy's involved in fraud, and they don't want to have that as their main person running for elections. So it's all contrived. But he's speaking to the people who don't pay a lot of attention to the details, but they're very conspiracy driven, and it's always politically useful to, it's us against them kind of thing. So that'll give you a little backdrop. All right, I have one little video here of drug bust information. They've been going hard here in Quindío. So check this out.
En ese momento, yo le doy una orden de captura que está en contra suya por los delitos de concierto para delinquir agravado, darse para tráfico, fabricación o porte de estupefacientes, destinación ilícita de bien inmueble, punto de menores de la comisión de delitos.
Por los delitos de concierto para delinquir agravado, tráfico, fabricación o porte de estupefacientes, destinación ilícita de bien mueble e inmueble.
Aplicarle usted una orden de captura por los delitos de concierto para delinquir agravado, por base para narcotráfico, tráfico, fabricación o porte de estupefacientes y destinación ilícita de bienes muebles e inmuebles.
Yeah, I've been seeing a fair amount of that. Let me see if I got some headlines here. Oh, and I said it was cold. This was, I think, yesterday. Here's a headline. Day before yesterday. Colombia on climate alert. Cold front will bring in heavy rains and risk of emergencies. Yeah, it's been cold. All right, what do I got here? The visit. just before Petro went to the United States, hours before he left to visit with Trump, he turned over for extradition a drug lord, as it says here, who the United States has been wanting for some time. He said it was, it's funny because to the Colombians, he stands up to the tyrant, the United States, and he's not complying with anything. The United States is going to comply to him, and he's demanding this and he's demanding that, and he's not accepting criminals back from the United States deportation. He says all this stuff, but then to the United States, he's accepting all the flights of the deportations. He sends this guy back just before his meeting with Trump because Trump was complaining they haven't been cooperating enough on the drug front. It's like to the United States, he does the complete opposite of what he says here. So I thought I would throw that story out there because it just kind of backs what I'm saying. And here's a picture of the two. And it's funny, he got a present from Trump, the red Make America Great Again cap. Well, he gave him one, Petro. It says, Make America's, plural, great again. Cute. Let's see, what's next here? Oh, yeah, big headline. This was other than what I just showed you in that little video clip. This was on homemade booze, counterfeit stamps, booze stamps, also fireworks. So you got all kinds of illegal booze and fireworks, moonshine, things like that. Here, actually, what they do here, it's not so much the moonshine. What they do is they take homemade stuff and put it in bottles that are brand names and put fake tax stamps on them. So, yeah, they've been busy. All right, what do we got here? Is that it? Okay, that's it. That's all the headlines. So I guess we're going to get to our main topic pretty quick today. Does anybody having any trouble getting in chat? Usually I get more chats than this. It's like there's only 2 people chatting right now since I've come on. I know a lot of people are always afraid to put something in chat, but I'd appreciate it if you could just put something up so I know if there's really an issue or not. I haven't experienced it, and the first time I ran into it was last week when somebody told me that, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. If there's anybody else out there and you haven't said anything in chat, say hello or something so I get a sense. And if not, if you wouldn't mind too much, here's my email again. Okay. Did I get everything? I think I did. All right. So let's talk about what's going on. So I want to talk about what Colombians think of American expats, not the polite version, the real one. And what I mean by that is if you talk to a Colombian, they're always going to be very polite. And unless you know them really, really well, there's things that they're not going to tell you just because they have this aversion to saying anything negative. That's why when you stop to get directions, they'll give you directions even if they don't have a clue what the direction should be. And not because they're trying to play an evil trick on you. It's just they don't want to say no. It's built into the society. And so getting information about a topic like this can be difficult because if you just take the responses at face value, you're probably just going to get the optimistic version of it. And it takes some time to actually cultivate the ability to get what we would consider to be true answers, real answers on this. So, what spurred this thought? Well, a poll came out recently in Colombia, and it said 78% of Colombians want better relations with the United States. Well, wanting good relations with the United States is not a big deal. It's never been an issue really in the past, or occasionally here or there if something happens. Pete, hello. Thank you. Well, Pete got in, so it's more than two. So it seems the chat's working. But relations with the United States and Colombia, whether you are aware of it or not in particular, but from country to country in general, and Colombians as a population tend to be far more aware of the relationship than your average American. It goes back from the beginning of the Republic of Colombia, because the United States was the first country to support the new Republic of Colombia. So this goes back to George Washington days, practically. I mean, and throughout our shared histories, there's been a lot of closeness, a lot of integration, a lot of cooperation. Like Colombia has been involved with a lot of conflicts that the United States has been involved with. The military of Colombia integrates training in the United States. I recall when I was in the Marines, I forget where we were, but I flew in. I was in helicopters. We flew into I believe it was an Army base in Texas, but my memory's vague. I don't remember exactly. But I do recall that this particular training group, it wasn't a boot camp. It was an advanced training. There was a contingent of Colombians in that group. This goes back to the 70s, and I was surprised. I didn't realize, what are they doing here? It's like an exchange thing. It happens on a regular basis. When we fought World War II, the Colombians were involved in that. That's how they ended up getting 50-some thousand Jeeps. The United States gave as a gift. It wasn't a loan. It was a gift of all those Jeeps, which formed that Jeep culture here, as a thank you for their help in World War II in a number of different ways. Our ties have always been very close. It surprised me when I learned it, and it surprised me when I realized at some point that people of the United States tend not to even know that. But the people of Colombia, as I said earlier, the people of Colombia, most people here are very aware of the situation where Colombia is not just another country. Colombia has been a good partner with the United States for a very long time. And so when they see Petro out saying all the things that he's saying, if they believed him, that would be alarming. And if they don't believe him, it would be alarming because he's undermining the relationship. So either way, true, not true, believe, don't believe, it's not a good thing. And so hence the reason for this poll, because some people buy into this. Well, is the United States changed, and are they after Colombia? Well, actually, they got a problem with Petro, but they've made it very clear that they don't have a problem with Colombia itself or the people of Colombia, because everybody else in the government of Colombia is fine. They've got good relations. They still have their regular meetings. It's really only with the guy who's currently president. So let me check here. Renee, hi from Belgium. Thank you, Renee. I believe that anyone with common sense will understand the cartels are too wealthy, too clever, and heads of the U.S. taking them down. Desire for consumption is too great. Something. Oh, Miriam. Miriam, hello. Hello. Phoenix, Arizona. Miriam and Richard. How are you? Um, yeah, they said that they'd lost track of how to watch Coffee Time. They were living here. They went back to the U.S. For a while. Hurry back. Very, 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 very nice people. And she messaged me and said, "How do I watch your show again?" So so here we are, and it worked. She was able to log in and leave a message. So I guess we're okay. So anyway, so there's that poll that 78% of Colombians want better relations with the United States. They're concerned about what's going on, but there's more to it than that. They want strong diplomatic ties. They want trade and they want cooperation. However, those of you in Medellin will know what I'm talking about. In Medellin, there are posters plastered on the walls. Digital nomad, temporary colonizers. That's an actual poster. There's another one in Laureles. I'll trade an Airbnb for a neighbor. And then there's Medellin is not for sale. Now, it may not make sense to you. I'll trade an Airbnb for a neighbor. What's that mean? Well, the problem is there's been a lot of apartments bought up by people, wealthier people, buying it up and turning them into Airbnbs for visitors. And this is happening a lot in Laureles, and Poblado is considered to be like little America now. So those two in particular. And it's creating resentment because people that lived in Laureles no longer can afford to be there because you can get far more out of an Airbnb per day from people coming into the country living in a different economy than you can get on month to month rent. And so that kind of creates a problem. So which is it? We've got the posters that remind you of the old, Yankee go home, and then we want better and closer ties. So basically, in 2023, rents in Laureles jumped 80% in 4 months. Does that register? Imagine you're Colombian, it's where you live, it's where your family lives, and the rent has jumped 80% in 4 months. Even if it didn't affect you, if you own your own property, it certainly affected some people that you know. El Poblado, it used to be full of wealthy Colombians. And like I said, now it's little America. I mean, you can walk through the park and not even hear Spanish. Where'd I get that from? I'm telling you, I'm getting this from people that I know, plus it's being claimed on Facebook. There's a local activist there, Anna Maria. She spent an afternoon putting up those posters. She said that landlords are evicting long-term Colombian renters in order to turn apartments into Airbnbs. Or they're renting to foreigners for triple the price. You got a foreigner that comes in and looks at the economy and thinks, oh, everything's so cheap, and they have no context, they have no idea, and they just pay it and think they did good. In reality, people that are coming in and doing that are destroying it for local people. So, I mean, when you're earning dollars I shouldn't, it's not really earning in dollars. Colombians say that all the time too. And I kind of repeated it, but it's a different economy. It's a different scale of economy. Yeah, things are cheaper. Then again, you earn less. It's the scale fits. So if you're in Colombia, the money you spend versus the money you take in fits. In the US, same thing. Now, of course, it depends on the ladder. Are you middle class or upper middle class or wherever? But scale, it fits. But if you have money from a wealthier economy and you come into the Colombian economy, now all of a sudden you have more money. It no longer fits. It's to your benefit. But having all that extra money means price is no object, especially if you're here on vacation or short term and you start throwing a lot of money around, it has an effect. And recently, it's been snowballing. When you take the politics, you take things that are being said, you're taking the sheer amount of people that have been coming versus what used to be here, it's definitely having an effect. An expat told me about an 85-year-old American bragging about an 18-year-old girl. Another talked about seeing derelict gringos parading around in the Parque Laureles. That's an image that we all inherit. And you know what I'm talking about. You go to Medellin, this is what you're going to see. You know, the guy who is bragging was over bragging in a restaurant to someone else, speaking rather loudly. And the person I checked with in Medellin happened to be there and said that he saw this firsthand. Here's this old guy just loudly bragging that he's scoring with 18-year-old girls. You got Colombians in there, and some of them understand English. And it's degrading, it's demeaning, it's condescending. It's a whole bunch of things, but it plays into the stereotypes. Because now they're hearing it firsthand, saying it's not just stereotype. This is what they're doing. They're coming here, not only doing it, but it's not sincere because they're just here bragging as though it were a conquest. And these things get around. You know, you got, well, I hate to say it, but let's say the minimum wage in Colombia amounts to $270 a month. But an iPhone costs $2,000 because of import taxes. 7 months of salary for a phone. So when you see that somebody's on their phone, you see their laptop, you see their watch, you're not seeing a person, you're seeing years of your salary walking around as though it doesn't mean anything. It's like rubbing people's nose in it. Now, I tell people all the time on this channel and in person, you don't pull your money out. It's considered to be rude. Among Colombians, it's not something you do. You don't flash money around. And I've been negligent in saying you don't really do that with other things too. You don't see Colombians walking around with gold chains hanging off their neck and $1,000 wristwatches. They're more conservative than that. They're more reserved than that. And they certainly don't take their wallet out and flash a whole bunch of money around or open it up so everybody can see. It's rude. But people come here and it's like money has no meaning. It has no value. Look at everything I've got. And this all has a cumulative effect. Same thing is happening in Cuenca. Drug money is, it was definitely huge when I was living in Cuenca even then. But there's regional differences. So everything I just said isn't everywhere. But Medellin is the epicenter. Cartagena has it, but it's considerably less because it's a tourist town, because all the tourists pretty much congregate in the same place, and the people that do come to visit come generally as tourists, not to live in Cartagena. It's just chalked up to that. So that's different. no different than if you're in the United States in a tourist town. The tourists coming in, well, that's not reality, and you just kind of ignore it. Well, that's just how they are. Yeah, they're just a bunch of rich assholes. It's chalked up to that. In Bogota, it's in pockets. But Medellin is really the epicenter of all of this ugliness. Now, Armenia, we don't have a lot of expats here. And there was a forum post that said, I know one of the, I think, 3 gringo residents there. Well, there's certainly more than 3. We have dozens here now. And some of that's probably my fault. But the coffee access is different, particularly in Armenia. And I can vouch for Manizales also. People come here for coffee farms, for the valley, for the weather. They tend to be quieter. They tend to learn Spanish. You see them more integrate. Now, that doesn't mean they have to go live in a low-end barrio or something like that. I mean, I live in the north, but I meet and make friends with local people. I'm conscious of the culture. And while I don't change who I am, I do tone certain things down because I have no desire to be rude. I don't want to be obnoxious unless it's to a fellow expat, then all bets are off. But, I know how to act with local people. Consequently, I've made a lot of friends here. But people that come here tend to integrate. So there's a difference. One person I talked to 2 weeks ago, actually, noted that very few people here speak English, much fewer than in Medellin. Well, that's true. You don't have very many people that speak English here, and you have a lot of people in Medellin. Why? Because there's so many tourists there. English is an opportunity. Here, we get massive amounts of tourism. As a matter of fact, in December, Condillo got over 250,000 tourists. That's a lot. But it's not like they're all from the United States. As a matter of fact, most of them aren't. Most of them are from Colombia. We get a fair amount from Europe, particularly Spain. Spain and Colombia has a lot of interaction. I know 3 or 4 people that I knew from here that are now living in Spain. So there's definitely a difference between this area and Medellin, but we're not immune. When an American does something stupid in Medellin, and there's been some high-profile cases, like murdering a girlfriend, for example. You may remember that. The Colombian media paints all gringos with that brush. I remember when that story came out, there was one girl that I know that I just talk to her every once in a while, usually by WhatsApp. Hey, how you doing? And she was all kinds of, she was kind of abrupt. And I said, what's wrong? It's like we always have friendly conversation, and it wasn't there. And then she brought up that story, and she says that, now I don't know what to think about, people from the USA. Well, I pointed out to her that you have people from Colombia that do the very same thing. And, you know how you are and your friends and your family. Well, we're not immune. And she, oh, yeah, put it in perspective. But I was there to put it in perspective for you have people that aren't. Something happens and we all get painted with that brush. You've got here's the image that has become more prevalent because there's a basis in fact. Sex tourism, drug tourism, scopolamine deaths. How does that come about? seedy adventures with hookers. It all creates a narrative. And that narrative even reaches here. So why do 78% want better relations with the US but resent American expats? These are different things. The relationship between Colombia and the United States, as I said, goes back centuries to the founding of the Republic. Millions of Colombians currently live in the United States. We've got a Colombian-born American that serves. I think he's a senator. He may be a congressman. As Moreno, I think his name is. You know, it's like you don't get much more integrated than that. So you got families that are split between two countries. You know, kids born in one place, parents in the other. Cultural ties that run generations deep. In the USA, because it's so big and we got so many types of people, your people might have been Irish or African or English or Scandinavian or whatever. Colombians are Colombians. And so what happens in the United States with Colombians affects people in Colombia. The US, we're so fragmented, we're oblivious to what goes on. You know, unless Somalia makes all kinds of headlines. Until that happened, most of us never gave two thoughts about Somalia and how many people were from Somalia. But see, in Colombia, something happens with a Colombian, everybody knows about it. The U.S. is Colombia's largest trading partner. Colombian policies follows American policies on drugs, on security, on trade, for better or for worse. It creates a dependence, but also an affinity. When U.S. does well, so does Colombia. When Trump and Petro were calling each other drug lords and war criminals, regular Colombians felt it. Visa applications got delayed and the economy got threatened. Petro blocked those deportation flights and Trump threatened 50% tariffs. How do you think people here felt about that? Then a few days ago, when they met at the White House, Petro walked out wearing the MAGA hat, Make America's Great Again. Is it genuine? I don't know. Petro faces an election. His party faces an election in May. But Trump needs cooperation with Venezuela. Petro has sway in Venezuela because he's connected with a lot of people there. So they're trying to tolerate him. They're trying to tolerate the things that he's doing, but he's kind of out of hand because he's always been out of hand. But on top of that, you have the election coming up. And as a matter of fact, you just had somebody in his party who will be running for president that just announced today that he may tap Petro to be his vice president. And so everybody's scrambling. They're saying, well, that's not constitutional. So we'll find out probably tomorrow if it's even legal to do that. But it's never been done before, never been talked about before. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on here that is poisoning the well. But if relationships stabilize, it's good for us as expats. Less chaos, less resentment spilling over onto expats. Colombians want trade stability. They want economic opportunity, and the United States represents that more than anyone else. They want visa access. They want respect for their sovereignty. There's no fear of that, or there shouldn't be fear of that because it's not real, but they keep being told that the United States is trying to essentially take over. What they don't want is to be priced out of their own cities, to have their culture replaced with Starbucks, to be treated like servants in their own country. I should say that again because I have seen that here in Armenia too. To be treated, they don't want to be treated like servants in their own country. If you're living here, keep that in mind because what you don't realize is sometimes you can come across as condescending and it can feel like that to who you have cleaning your house, for example. They don't want to watch gringos break laws and walk away from it. There's a saying here that Colombia is the United States farm, the farm team, meaning Colombian policy bends to American interests. It always has. And that history can create resentment. Now, that isn't the historical fact, although at time it's been like that, and there's been times when pressure has been put on Colombia, but it's been for things like cooperating with the drug issue, which hurts Colombia too. So, you can interpret certain things like that, but in general, it's been a pretty good partnership historically. But when Americans walk around acting like they own the place, flashing money like it doesn't mean anything, it rubs salt in old wounds, and it gives credence to some of these stereotypes. Expats who are welcome tend to do things differently. They learn Spanish, enough Spanish, at least make the attempt. You don't have to be fluent in Spanish, but you should be making the attempt. Mine sucks. I mean, it gets better. I can get by. I can be understood. But for a number of years, you followed this channel, those of you who did, for a long time it sucked. But the fact that I would make the attempt was enough. It was enough because it dispelled that feeling that you're so arrogant that you feel that they should learn your language and you don't have to make any attempt to, think of in the United States, how many people say, you want a good job, then learn English. Well, it's the same here. If you want to live here, you want to be part of it, then learn Spanish. And if you don't, it causes resentment. In the United States, people that want to live there, but don't want to bother learning any English, you look at them a certain way. It's no different here. But making the attempt is all that's necessary here. People here, particularly in the coffee access, and I don't want to paint the brush of everybody in Medellin. I'm just saying that's kind of the root of a lot of this. But a lot of people there, they support local businesses. The corner store, the markets, I mean, not just the gringo cafes and the gringo designed restaurants and, the national and international chains. If you use the corner store in the market, you get to meet people. Even if you don't know much Spanish, you're doing good. Instead of walking by and coming across with the appearance like you got your nose turned up, you stop and you get a bottle of water from, the local tienda that they see you walk by every day. Stop and say hello. It makes a huge difference. You don't have to brag about how cheap everything is. For Colombians, it's not cheap. And for Colombians, it's a slap in the face. They understand class dynamics. Colombia has extreme wealth inequality. When you live in a wealthy neighborhood and hire help, you're in that system. And that's fine. Just be careful of how you act within that system. And above all, don't try to fix Colombia. If we're not Colombian, we don't have the right to do that. We moved to Colombia. That means you have to accept the Colombian culture and you have to adjust to how it is. You can complain all you want. You're not going to change it. All you're doing is creating aggravation for yourself, everybody around you, and you're sending out a pretty ugly message. I've had expats tell me it's like I live amongst Colombians and not expats. Stratus too, cheaper bills, no bubble. Uh, we all know Mike. That's all he did in the years that he lived here, and that's the difference between being an expat and being an intruder. So the Colombians want us here. Some do, most do, but some don't. But you also have a lot of people that are in the middle and could go either way. They appreciate the economic benefit. Most are aware of that. But they resent a cultural displacement. They don't want to see it. They like individual Americans they meet, but they're frustrated with Americans as a group. So if you've been living here, you probably have Colombian friends, and they would sincerely, probably, they like you, because Colombians are not very good about the fake. If they don't like you, they're not going to be rude to you. They're just going to ignore you and not be near you, and then you wouldn't call them friends. So you would know it. They would make sure that you know it. So individually, that's fine, but as a group, we have this issue to contend with. This goes back. I remember in the 60s and 70s, it was tough in Europe. And I mentioned earlier, Yankee go home. That was a thing there. You know, the term that actually goes back to the 50s, ugly American. We haven't had that here very much until the last couple years. If you're in Condillo, you're probably doing it right. You're not in Medellin party scene. You're not driving up rents. You're here for the coffee, for the mountains, for the slower pace. You're here for the life of Colombia. But don't get complacent. Learn some language. Understand the culture. That's what this channel is pretty much for. That's why I talk so much about cultural things here. Don't assume that you're welcome just because you have money. As a matter of fact, that's the worst. That's the worst thing to introduce into any situation. You don't ever want to make comments about how cheap things are, throw money around, give exorbitant tips. It might make you feel good, but you're creating a problem. So that 78% who want better relations, they want a partnership. They don't want to feel colonized, as the term is being said in Medellin. So that's what I got to say about that. Comments? What do you think? You know, today's been pretty awesome. I start up right on time. I get through everything right on time. I do the main topic and I get right to 12 o'clock. I got a little bit of time. If you have questions, comments, if you have anything that you want to go over. But it's pretty good. It's Super Bowl Sunday. And frankly, I could care less. The Bills aren't in it. And who's going to win? Seattle Seahawks, New England. I don't care. They're not my team. I don't care. And what halftime show are you going to watch? I don't care. Probably neither. From the lineup, I've heard the not official halftime show sounds a million times better. Aerosmith, I mean, but I don't know. I'll probably skip both of them. Let's see. Got a few chats here. Olga, good morning. I've attempted to get into live chat. I can view the live chat but can't participate. Got to live by clicking the white icon. Okay. All right. So That means you logged in on the one channel, and you can see this because it's all part of it, but you couldn't get to the specific chat until you went to that particular channel. Got it. I see what's happening. All right, I'll see if I can figure out how to do that. Maybe I can rename. I can't rename the main channel Grand Columbia, but the one that I'm currently calling Grand Columbia small letters, maybe I can just call it Coffee Time Live. The only problem is I've been doing things other than Coffee Time Live on that channel. So, I mean, Grand Columbia is a channel in and of itself. So I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll look at it. And thank you. I appreciate it. That kind of information really helps a lot. Let's think. How will the U.S. and Colombia ever stabilize relations as long as Colombian cartels find ways in their will to move their product to the U.S.? By separating the idea that the cartels are Colombian. The cartels, in fact, are not even controlled by Colombians. They're controlled by Mexicans these days. And Colombia has to, it'll help when they have a president who doesn't have friends in these cartels. That certainly sends the wrong message to the United States. And it doesn't help Colombians. As a matter of fact, in areas of Colombia in the last couple of years, under the politics that have existed, you've had massive growth in the Cucuta area with the ALN and with the in Cauca, for example, with the FARC and the guerrilla groups there. They've as much as doubled and tripled in size. Why? Because the government is just letting it happen. They're not doing anything about it. And it's been signaled that way. So they know they got to, let's go, let's do it. Make lots of money. Let's grow, get stronger. They are the government of the Department of Cauca. So, this is bad for Colombians. It's bad for the United States. And so we have to get back to a place where we have a common enemy and not where one is supporting you can't have one supporting the enemies of the United States without expecting that there's going to be issues. They're also the enemy of Colombians. And so the government of Colombia should fully recognize that and do something about it. It's gotten so bad, the United States is saying, well, if you don't do something, maybe we will. Well, if you don't want that kind of situation, do something about it because it's corrupting and corrosive. Look what's going on in Ecuador. Look what happened to Venezuela. The United States has been arms off. They haven't been part of that. That's organic. And what they're saying now is, we don't want this because it's having huge effect on us and it's ruining these countries. Just talk to any Venezuelan, what they think about that situation. So, it's like, let's just be partners with them. Well, let's see how the votes go. Libby, I almost missed coffee time today. How are you doing? This might be why chat participation is low. You're right. Now I have a clue between you and another comment earlier. Forget who it was, but I think you've probably put your finger on it, and it's why I've never had an issue. And other people, they know where to go and haven't had an issue. But if you don't get a sense of, I'll change up the logo. If I can change the name, I will. And maybe we can make that problem go away. Dan, Olga, are you on a phone or a computer? I never found it to be an issue either way. I think they've got their finger on it. I think the only issue is the confusion between the main account and the video where I actually have the live video. It makes sense. Never I never thought it was a problem because, I look at it and it's like they're distinctly two different things, but I could see, yeah, I could see where there could be issues. So I think you're right because obviously some people are having a problem and that would explain it. All right. Anything else? How are we doing? Olga, phone. Hmm. This cup is pretty awesome. This is one of those double wall things. And while it's no longer hot, it's still not cold. It's still drinkable, barely, but it's still okay. All right. Well, I guess that's it. If you're into the Super Bowl, I hope you have a good time with it. I hope you enjoy it. Um, I'm going to be home, kicking back, relaxing. I had a lot of work. I've been working really hard on my, I'll call it my life book. It's my autobiography. I got pages and I'm up to about 300 pages. It's a daunting task. I've been working on it for 3 years now. Um, I I'm so far from it being done. It, with content, I'm probably 2/3 of the way there. So I'm getting close to being done. I'm dictating it and then having the dictation turned into script. And then I go through and I have to clean it up. And so it's very time consuming, but there's so much of it. And when I was dictating, I'm dictating these things. Oh, let me talk about this today. And little interesting tidbits. Well, what kind of order do I put those in? And do I remember what order? And that's the thing. The biggest obstacle I've had is, all right, how old was I? Well, I was 14 when that happened. Well, I was 15 when that happened. Wait a minute. I think I was 14. What year was that? Well, that was 1968. Well, this happened in 1969, but I think I was the same age. And it's maddening trying to remember this stuff. There's one instance where I remembered it as working at the Sheraton, but I remember I was 14 years old when this situation that I was talking about happened. And I wasn't working at the Sheraton when I was 14, but I'm remembering it as a Sheraton. Well, I worked at the Sheraton, but I was 15, 16 years old then. So the years don't match. What is it? Well, then finally it dawned on me. I met them at the parking lot in the Sheraton because a friend of mine worked at the Sheraton. I wasn't working there yet. So your memory is, it's a tough thing to wrangle. And I don't want to, well, it's not all that critical because the stories happen. But, if I put down that I'm such and such age and somebody reads the story and says, wait a minute, that doesn't work because there's 2 years difference here, and then it's like, were you making this up? Well, no, it's just my memory of the particular age and years I'm finding to be very difficult because I remember the stories because they happen. They're my stories, but I never logged it to know it's like exactly when it was. I went to Woodstock when I was 14 or 15 years old, but I didn't work at the Sheraton until I think I was 16 or what. It was something like that. And it's like, well, how did I do this when that? So anyway, I'm whining. Oh, Mr. You got a couple chats here. Have a good Sunday. Thank you. I will. It's already good. Great coffee time today. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's a nice comment. Mr. Zell, how are you? The only way I can log in is to go to your Facebook and log into your Rumble. That's weird. Just can't imagine why that would be. You saying you just can't go to the account and click on it? We should talk. All right, we're going to end it here. Let me get out of here and let me get to where I end it. Thank you very much. I will see you next week, barring any sort of emergency. I don't expect any. I got to turn that. Whoop, sorry. Let me turn that off. And here we are. All right. I'll see you next time. Ciao.